Hi guys, it's been a while since I spoke to you guys about Townless Badminton Club. I thought I'll just take the time to respond to some things Tafazul has raised, because he's finally come through to actually say some things about the videos. He's obviously taken the time to think about what I've been saying, and he's said certain things in ways that was completely uncharacteristic of him. And I think the only reason he did that is because he's suffering from compassion and from the pain of shame and me going out there and saying all these things outside the club. I did say from the outset that I'm out to change things and that it may hurt people that I did not set out to hurt. The first question he raised is that apparently they're telling him that the place was always available for the kids and that it was up to the parents to bring the kids around, etc. Well, I can tell you that was not the case. You've been there only 4 years, I've been there 20 years. Every time kids came on the course, they would take them off. The only time they did manage to stay on the course for a little while is when nobody else was around. And I don't need to say much more about that because I'm not the only one saying it. Unfortunately, this place will now close, and when it does, people will have to ask, why is it being closed? The management of Townless Badminton Club will not tell you why, and I can tell you that it's because people know that it's been misused. And it's not only Townless Badminton Club, other groups apparently have been doing similar. So it's been decided that they're going to close the facility and not provide it to the adults anymore, because it was intended to support the young kids in the area. Nobody wanted to do anything for the kids in this place. There was, as I've said already, no desire to let any of the course to the kids, and we had no money to pay for any coaches, so I'm the only one who actually tried to do anything. The only time they started paying attention to the coaching needs and development is when they saw these kids coming through, including yourself, when they saw people coming through and the kind of caliber that was coming through. And perhaps people were talking outside to say, look, we've got these brilliant kids, etc. Never mind the other details. Now, I have always thought about development. I've always thought about how we can improve in that place, myself included, and all the other people around me. We've always looked at how we can actually train better, work harder, and develop our game. I started thinking about developing this whole club about 15 years ago, like I said in my previous videos, and I've always helped people. We came in and I said, look guys, let's warm up, let's do some practice before we start playing games, and I had the ability to talk to people because everybody just came to me with various things. Mahmood, can you help me with this? Manjur, can you do this? Why are these guys playing over there and I can't, etc. So many things. I've helped so many people over the years, but none of them are coming through now to say anything about this. That's because they're all feeling the shame. The only thing they're concerned about now is, why is this guy going outside and talking? Well, the only reason I had to do that is because these guys are not the right kind of people, and they're not listening to anybody else apart from whatever ideas they have. Anyway, so things were changing, and we needed to think about even more. So when Ronald came along and I saw him, the kind of player he was, and then eventually when he became a coach, I thought, well, this was our opportunity. We've got to do something with this guy. Just the mere fact of him being in the club was enough for people to see the kind of, the styles that he applied when he was playing the shots and the sort of things that he was doing. So anyway, eventually he became the coach, and he was working with Tahamlets, and Shamim probably had the idea, well, Ronald will go out there and he'll produce some kids and we'll bring them in. Well, why should Ronald just bring some kids into Townless Badminton Club? Are we paying him? So we had to give something back. So that's when I actually started doing things with him. I thought, this is our opportunity. So, do you not remember the first couple of years with Ronald that I actually went over and I saw you, and I saw Jerin, and I saw some of the other guys? Do you not remember the amount of time I spent with you guys? Particularly you, Tafazul. I spent a lot of time, giving you the practice for the drives outside the courts, many hours, and then I played so many boring games with you. Yes, it was boring. We asked Shamim, we asked other people to come and help us. You know, I didn't see Shamim come into any of these sessions and actually spend the time with you guys, knocking and giving you the practice that you need to become better. So I can't understand how you could be so ungrateful. You know, you should be thankful for me at least spending that time to work with you guys. You know, these guys didn't have the time. I had the time. I also had the desire to help. I can go through boredom when I need to. I pushed myself. It was boring. I pushed myself to actually go through all that because I wanted to help you guys. So anyway, eventually, when Ronald left, this was about 5 years ago now, I'll accept that you guys did not actually train with me very much, and a lot of time went by when we didn't do much, but eventually we had Bishop Chalana. You know, we had about 5-6 months of Bishop Chalana. One of the course was supposed to be for us to actually do the coaching. Now, just one thing, by that time in 2013, I actually told the guys, look, you got to give me a role where I actually look into the development, because I'm doing all these things outside and some of the kids are coming to the club like yourselves, and you know, they need to accept that. You know, I realized that they were actually looking at taking all the credit and doing something of their own now, because as I said, they started paying attention when young guys were coming to the club. So they said okay. So when we had the Bishop Chalana school, we spent some time there, didn't we? We spent some time practicing, and I gave you a lot of the practices, and at that time you were making a lot of mistakes. So I can understand that you cannot remember any of that to even say thank you for trying. If I failed you, Tawazul, you know, that's another story. I apologize, but I have tried, and I cannot believe that you actually said those things. Anyway, I'm not going to hold it against you, because we are in this situation talking about these things in this way because of those guys, and those are the guys that I'm trying to deal with. I need to tell you one more thing. It's very important. It's a bit pathetic, but you need to know this. When Ujjwal, Duel and Shuan came along, you know, they were initially with Usmani Club, because by that time they had sucked them up because we didn't have the facilities to take them in. Okay, they were actually training with me here and there, and they were asking me where they can go. Now I was hoping to take them into Bishop Chalana, but because the other guys took our court and we didn't have the court most of the time, I could not take them in. And during that time, Usmani Club took them. So eventually they started coming to our club because they knew we have, you know, better players in the club generally, and they started walking around. And I said to them, look, come guys, whenever we have courts available, you just play. They were probably being told by Medrick and whoever else to come along as well. So that's great. So when they started coming and they started using the court times, these guys had meetings. They wanted to get rid of them. They wanted to get rid of them because they were actually playing for Usmani. They had already decided they were going to play for Usmani in the leagues. And I couldn't believe it. First meeting they had, they said, well, we need to get rid of them because if you know, they can't just come here and just start playing at our let's get better and go back to Usmani. I said, you guys are not going to say anything to these guys, okay? I am handling the development, and I am going to look into what happens here. We're not going to think about what Usmani is about and what kind of people are in Usmani, etc. These guys, they're young, they need opportunities. They didn't say anything. Another meeting, similar sort of thing. They didn't say anything. So they started to apply the tactics of trying to get rid of me and say, right, Medrick should be the coach. Okay? Now bear in mind that I was doing all of this for free. Nobody else wanted to do it, and I was doing it. So think about how I'm feeling when they come along and start saying, do this, do that, yeah? So they wanted to replace me with Medrick. Medrick said, no, leave it to Mahmoud. So what's the next thing? They came in. Now my plan was when they came in, they would actually take up 1 or 2 courts, depending on how many of these guys would come along, and they would play by themselves, and we would mix in with some of the other guys to give them the pushing, give them games, because they were actually already better than some of the guys, and that's how they would develop, and we'd think about certain things, positioning, etc. So what happened? As soon as they came in, they decided, well, we're going to mix them all up and play with everybody. Now, when you get these young guys coming to the club, and they get the opportunity, they get the options of train, you know, think about practice, or just play with everybody. Now, I think they'd be inclined to say, well, I'll just play with everybody. So obviously they'll go in that direction. So they ruined our opportunity again. So what would have happened if I'd lost heart, let's say about 5 years ago, with all this messing around that's going on, not giving us the court time, etc., and not anybody helping me, you see, people would have lost out. The number of people I've actually managed to help since that time, yeah, I told you before, the number of people I helped before that, and I do wish that at some point they come through and start talking. All these kids would have lost out. I spend hours and hours every week. You know, every Saturday I spend 4 hours. Thursday, Wednesday, Monday. I'm spending so many hours in the week with the kids. People should be grateful. I just don't understand it. On the question of my ability to coach, I'll leave it to the guys I'm actually coaching. Let them decide whether I'm actually a good coach or not. I know what I do. This is how I work. You can't learn to walk unless you learn to stand. And you can't learn to run unless you know how to walk already. And then once you know how to run, you can probably eventually jump as well. Okay? And then you build on all of that. Where these guys come in, like Shamim, Munim, etc., they come in at the point when people know how to run and jump already. I get people to learn how to run and jump, okay? And they can build on that. Which is more important?